He said it was working fine earlier.
So you try to, we good?
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Ottumwa City Council meeting. I'm going to call our meeting to order, and if everybody rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Chris will go ahead and take the roll call.
Councilmember Rowe.
Here.
Councilmember Galloway.
Here.
Councilmember McIntyre.
Here.
Councilmember Hull.
Here.
Councilmember Pope.
Here.
Mayor Johnson.
Here. The first item on our agenda is to approve tonight's consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I motion to remove item B3 from the consent agenda and to add it to the regular agenda as item H6.
Second.
Okay, Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember Rowe.
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway.
Yes.
Councilmember McIntyre.
Yes.
Councilmember Hull.
Yes.
Councilmember Pope.
Yes.
Okay, the next item is to approve our agenda for tonight's council meeting.
We have to
We
do
have to-
consent agenda.
Pardon?
We have to approve the consent
Oh,
agenda.
sorry. Okay, we need to approve the modified consent agenda.
Mhm.
So is there a motion?
I guess,
Second.
Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember Rowe.
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway.
yes.
Councilmember McIntyre.
Yes.
Councilmember Hull.
Yes.
Councilmember Pope.
Yes.
Okay, now we need a motion to approve our regular agenda for tonight's council meeting.
So moved. Second.
Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember Rowe.
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway.
Yes.
Councilmember McIntyre.
Yes.
Councilmember Hull.
Yes.
Councilmember Pope.
Yes.
The next item is our city administrator's report, so I'll turn it over to Phil.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor. Just a couple of quick notes. One, if you are, I guess, listening. Oh, wait, we might. Listening and possibly watching at home. That was a revised, updated comment. I think we have video again. The other thing is next Tuesday, the 28th, we are scheduled to have a work session for the budget for fiscal year 24. The location is to be determined, but it will be at 5:30 on Tuesday. So possible in this building, in this room, or over at the Law Center. There's a couple monitors and projection screens, so if we need to project anything up, it'd be easier to see as we go through that. So that'll be out later this week with the agenda and the actual location. So be looking for that if that's something that you want to attend or get more information on. And that is what I had for tonight.
Does anybody have any questions for Phil? Okay. The next item is to ask if anyone in the audience wants to speak on any items that are on our agenda for tonight's council meeting. We do have one. We have a couple different people. So when we get to those sections, we'll ask you to come up and speak.
Did you fill out a paper? Okay.
And we got two people.
I just want to make sure he was one of them.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Okay. Okay, the next is public hearing.
This is the time, place, and date set for a public hearing approving the plans, specifications, form of contract, and estimated cost for the Ottumwa Park Campground Shower House Parking Lot and Sewer Dump Station Project.
I'll go ahead and open the public hearing, and I believe Gene Ratchey, our Parks Director, is going to cover this item.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor. The Ottumwa Park Campground Shower House and Office Project is almost finished and will be ready when the campground opens to the public on April 1st. A concrete parking lot will be necessary for this project to accommodate campers and their vehicles. The Wapello County Foundation grant that the city of Ottumwa received for this project requires a new sewer dump station as part of the project. The plans and specifications for this project are complete and ready for approval. The engineer's cost estimate for this project is $52,000.
Does council have any questions for Gene? Gene, was this an anticipated cost or was this something that was unanticipated?
No, this was anticipated, but
Okay.
we didn't include this as part of the shower house project because we weren't sure if we were going to have enough funding.
Okay,
But with the ARPA funds, we have enough.
okay. Okay, if there's no other comments, I'd entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember Rowe,
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway,
Yes.
Councilmember McIntyre,
Yes.
Councilmember Hull,
Yes.
Councilmember Pope.
Yes.
Resolution number 32, 2023, approving the plans, specifications, form of contract, and estimated cost for the Ottumwa Park Campground Shower House Parking Lot and Sewer Dump Station Project. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 32, 2023.
Move the recommendations presented.
Second.
Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember Rowe,
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway,
Yes.
Councilmember McIntyre,
Yes.
Councilmember Hull,
Yes.
Councilmember Pope.
Yes.
This is the time, place, and date set for a public hearing approving fiscal year 24 maximum property tax dollars.
I'll go ahead and open the public hearing, and I believe Phil's going to cover this item.
Yes, thank you. On February 7th, I believe it was, the City Council had approved the maximum levy for the fiscal year 24 budget. Due to some changes at state law or with state legislation, our assessed valuation was reduced by $17 million, and that results in a reduction of dollars that we were anticipating to pay for things like insurance, debt service, and benefits for employees. So the rate at that time was $17.34, and that resulted in a levy of, let's see, so I'm trying to read my writing here. Okay, so property tax is levied for what the request is to raise the rate to $17.34, and that would be a total levy of $2201,539. Again, this is the maximum or the ceiling that we'd be looking to set as we work through the budget process. We'd be looking to try to make some areas where we could reduce that. For fiscal year 23, for reference, it was $16.65 for the maximum levy that was set, and the total levy ended up being $21.22 when you roll in debt service, library, and the self-supporting municipal improvement districts. So what you're being asked to do tonight is to update or revise that maximum levy that was set back on February 7th by its 23 cents and change. And then that would make the new maximum levy at $17.34. So 17.34379. That is still within a 2% increase of last year, so it would not require a supermajority vote, but a simple majority. And take any questions.
Council have any questions for Phil? Since this is a public hearing, does anyone in the audience have any questions that they'd like to ask?
Hey, Phil, I just want clarification again. I know that
Yes.
we've identified this multiple times, and I know you just identified it again, but I think it's really important to say it one more time. So why are we having to do this again?
Yeah. So when we set this earlier on February 7th, we were anticipating revenue for a couple of different areas. Trust and agency is a variable levy. The insurance is a variable levy. So we look at what we need for dollars for that. And then based upon the assessed valuation, that'll establish what the rate is. One of the things that was created in the state legislature a couple of years ago was for municipalities to establish a maximum levy earlier in the process, and then we cannot go above that as we go through the budget process. So that was what was done on February 7th. Since that time, legislation was passed, and the state had changed the formula for the assessed valuation. That was my understanding. It was supposed to take effect with this year, had not been. The error was identified, and then the Senate File 181 was to make that correction in this year. So they extended out the budget process to get filed by 30 days to April 30th. But by doing that, that resulted in $17 million less valuation, which is what those dollar amounts were based off of. So when you reduce the valuation that is in that formula, that reduces the amount of money. So we would not have enough money to pay those as were projected for the insurance, for debt service, for trust and agency, or employee benefits. This is adjusting that to make sure that we can at least pay for those.
Thank you. I just wanted that clarification because of a mistake at the state level. We, as municipalities, as counties, as schools, are having to fix our budget for that.
And I think that it would be important to remind the public that Ottumwa obviously is not alone in this. Two major cities in the state of Iowa, and I'm assuming at this point, because the last time I looked was about a week and a half ago, the city of Ames and the city of Iowa City, both of which who hadn't raised property taxes. As a matter of fact, both cities have lowered their property tax rates over the past several years. They have had to come back to the board and adjust their property tax rates up as a direct result of this. I think Ames is looking at a $778,000 deficit as a result of this action. So Ottumwa is most definitely not alone in this. And I would encourage everybody, again, much as we have over the last couple of meetings, this should be somewhat infuriating to all of the property tax holders in the state of Iowa. And I would suggest that everybody reach out to their state legislators to talk about this because, again, as was mentioned in the last meeting, this was not something that the state of Iowa offered to work with the cities, counties, and school districts with, and stretch out the state mistake over some time to give cities and counties and school districts time to adjust. This was something that they said, as Administrator Rath just said, you're going to fix it now, and we're taking the money now, as opposed to giving us a little bit of latitude to try to figure out how to make things work out.
Any other comments by council? If none, then I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second. Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Hull?
Yes.
Councilmember Pope?
Yes.
Resolution number 35, 2023, approving the maximum property tax dollars for the fiscal year 2024. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 35, 2023.
Move the recommendation as presented.
Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Hull?
Yes.
Councilmember Pope?
Yes.
OADC Fairbanks pump replacement. Recommendation approve the OADC Fairbanks pump replacement in the amount of $12,468.
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second. Larry, I believe you're going to cover this.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. We make a recommendation to replace the pump at the OADC pump station. It was originally installed in 1975. We've repaired it multiple times over the years. It's at a point that it cannot be repaired any longer. The purchase price would be $12,468, and we have about a 4-month lead time on this pump. We do purchase each year, or we do budget each year for pump replacement of $75,000. With the purchase of this pump, we'll have $33,573 left.
Council have any questions for Larry? If not, Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Hull?
Yes.
Councilmember Pope?
Yes.
Elm Street Lift Station Pump Number 1 repair. Recommendation approve the Elm Street Lift Station Pump Number 1 repair in the amount of $12,507.
Move to approve.
Second.
Larry, I believe you're going to take this also.
This is one of 3 pumps that services the Elm Street Pump Station. This station is one of our main lift stations and handles about 80% of the flow from the city to the wastewater plant. A new pump is estimated to cost about $131,000, and we recommend, again, repairing this. It's the same thing our maintenance crew does with all of our pumps. They get full useful life out of them. The cost for the parts is $12,507. And it's a second purchase of $140,000 for the budgeted item. With a rebuilt pump from Electric Pump, there's a 90-day warranty, and you can see the bids and the estimate on the attached quotation.
Does council have any questions for Larry?
No, I just have a note. I really appreciate identifying the line item in these summaries. That's a nice little touch that's been added. So thanks, Larry.
Welcome.
If there's no questions, Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Hull?
Yes.
Councilmember Pope?
Yes.
Historic Preservation Certified Local Government Annual Report. Recommendation: accept Certified Local Government Annual Report.
Do we have a motion to approve the recommendation?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Zach, that's all yours.
All right. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. In order to participate in the Certified Local Government Program, the city has to have a Historic Preservation Commission that meets a certain number of times a year, do a few other things, and provide an annual report. The report this year, the deadline was extended a little bit, which is why we're hearing about this in March instead of usually in February. But this year's annual report is ready to submit for review by the state, and it's included and attached. This is also a time that we usually take every year where the commission chair, Dennis Wilhoit, gives an update to the council on the work the Historic Preservation Commission has been doing. So I'll hand it over to Dennis.
Good evening. Right now, I'm wishing that I would have made this a bigger font.
Would you go ahead and introduce yourself?
I'm sorry. I'm Dennis Wilhoit, and I'm the chair of the Historic Preservation Commission. Thank you for this time to review with you the Certified Local Government Annual Report. This report documents, as Zach said, the Historic Preservation Commission's preservation work and demonstrates that the commission has fulfilled its requirements for the CLG program to remain in good standing. The commission went through a big shift in membership since our last report. And at one point we were down to 2 members, and I was like the old timer on the commission. We currently have 4 members: Wes Olson, Molly Nauman, and Bob Swanson. We are still 1 member shy of our maximum of 5. We are on the lookout for a 5th member and believe it would be most appropriate if we could find a female to serve in this position to ensure better gender balance on the commission. And I would encourage anyone in the gallery or listening, interested people may fill out the application in the mayor's office for appointment to the commission. And we need that 5th person. So I would invite everyone to think about that and help us out. As I began last year, I extend my thanks from the commission to the staff liaison, Zach Simonson. Zach's role in supporting the commission's work, along with Isaac, and including the nuts and bolts of this report and assisting in our preservation work, is heartily acknowledged and very much appreciated. Much of the year was focused on finding financial support for the development of a historic preservation plan for the city. Our old one is from the late 90s, and so it's time for a new one. Our initial expected cost of the project was about $60,000. At this point, we have reached roughly $40,000+ for the project. We fell short with our CLG grant that we just found out about not receiving last month. But with wise counsel from one of our more seasoned commission members that we recruited back on board, we believe that we can still find a path forward and move forward in an effective fashion with our current cash on hand. So we will be releasing, with Zach's help, an RFP and selecting a contractor with hopes of completing or making substantial progress by the end of this year. The process will include surveys and comprehensive public meetings to generate the broadest amount of feedback for the preservation plan. And then the plan, once completed and adopted by the council, will become a key component of the city's comprehensive plan. We also had out RFPs for the transfer ownership of the private to private ownership of for rehabilitation were issued through the office this year. The Dom House at North Court and the First National building downtown on the corner there. There were no responses, but they will be reissued, and we will continue to search for new owners that have the head and the heart for preservation to see those buildings into the future. We also wanted to say thank you to Larry Seals. We had a meeting in December, and he reviewed the plans for the renovation here at City Hall. And that was exciting to see the things that will be happening and the opening up of the lobby, those historic elements coming back to the building in the future. And thank you for including us in on that. And I hope I forwarded all of the photos when this building was built that were taken by the federal government, forwarded that file from the Wapello County Historical Museum, the Iowa History Connection, and hope that that is of help as well. New this year and in subsequent years will be the award program for excellence in preservation. The Excellent in Preservation Awards will honor the best examples of historic rehabilitation, special preservation projects, and local advocates advancing the cause of historic preservation in Ottumwa. This is the first year for this event. These awards are an opportunity to recognize some of the outstanding efforts to preserve historic preservation in Ottumwa. It's about showing appreciation, building a community of preservation advocates, and setting the example for excellence. So we're looking forward to that. Award categories include preservation advocate, excellence in residential rehabilitation, excellence in commercial rehabilitation, outstanding preservation special project, and more. Projects must have been completed in the last 5 years to be eligible for this award in May, and it will be part of the May Historic Preservation Month activities. Self-nomination will be accepted in most of the categories, so I encourage you to help us spread the word. I know it's on the website. I know that it's been issued, a press release issued to the paper, but please help spread the word and make the nominations and make nominations yourself and then share with friends. And then finally, I always refer to item 15 on the CLG report because it deals with a budget provided by the city, an amount provided by the city for the commission's work, which we have not had in the past. We have been charged with raising our own money for many, many years, and that takes time and takes time actually away from historic preservation. I heard a rumor that perhaps there is a small amount that will be included in the budget, and so I certainly appreciate that. Hope that can remain intact, and also thank you for your support in the historic preservation plan and getting that off the ground. Historic preservation is one of the cornerstones of community revitalization, and we are your cheerleaders for preservation, restoration, rehabilitation, and reconstruction of our historic resources here in Ottumwa. We are proud of our work as recorded in the report in front of you, and we look forward to working vigorously with our partners in historic and economic development of our cities. So thank you very much. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Dennis, when are those nominations due by?
They are due by April 5th.
Thank you.
Dennis, how many years does the historical preservation plan supposed to cover? Is there a requirement of how many years that plan is supposed to be set up for?
We anticipate that it would be a 10-year plan.
And will there be any kind of public meetings or anything to
There will
get
be-
public
that-
input for that?
Yes, absolutely. That will be, in my personal opinion, that will be one of the bedrocks of that entire plan, is to have meetings with the community at large, as well as special meetings for those that are in designated historic districts or potentially designated historic districts and individual nominations.
So what would be your tentative time frame you hope to have that done by?
Zach has the timeline. Do you have a month that you want to throw out that you think we'll get those started by?
I know that we initially hoped about 6 months when we were going to the CLD grant. The state seemed to think it would be closer to a year or longer. But that was also with the state being involved with this, not receiving the grant doesn't mean that they're not involved. So, a little faster.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for either Zach or Dennis?
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Chris will go ahead and take the roll.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Hull?
Yes.
Councilmember Pope?
Yes.
Consider rejecting all bids for asbestos and demolition of the condemned property at 530 West 4th Street. Recommendation, reject all bids for asbestos and demolition of the condemned property at 530 West 4th Street and rebid the project.
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second. Okay, Zach?
All right, thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. This one is the next two really are the result of a kind of frustrating outcome on a bid opening on March 15th. We accepted bids until 2 p.m. on this property. There were four demolition bids and 3 asbestos bids received. The lowest bidder did not submit adequate bid security, and so that bid was disqualified. That's going to be the case for all 4 of the bid projects tonight. The lowest bidder didn't have adequate security. For 2 of the projects, we still thought the second highest bid was appropriate with our expectations. For 2 of them, we thought the next lowest bids exceeded what we thought was appropriate. In consulting with the attorneys and kind of reviewing the language in the bid documents do require that every bidder acknowledge that it's understood that the city reserves the right to accept or reject any or all proposals, to disregard any formality in connection therewith, or to accept any proposal which in its opinion is in the best interest of the city. We do recommend rejecting this bid. Believe it's too high, and we'd like to go out and bid again.
Does council have any questions for Zach before I have the other individual that'd like to speak on this?
I got a couple comments, possibly questions. I guess I don't understand, since Dan Larson's wasn't filled out right, that you don't go to the second lowest bidder. Because of the last year when we voted on houses, we'd never rejected any. How do you go about deciding what's a fair amount or what's not a fair amount? My understanding, this house here is a lot bigger and has a lot more asbestos, which naturally would cost more money to tear down.
Yeah, this bid would be the most we've ever paid for a demolition under this program. It would be more than we paid to demolish the old pet store on Milner Street, which is the second most expensive project we've ever bid. And looking at similar large house projects, we don't itemize out every item and then come up with a sum total, but we do look at where this would fit in comparison to other projects. We went into the bid hoping for and really expecting the bid to be under $35,000. This one, the second highest bid was $38,450. The lowest bid, which was disqualified, would have been below $30,000. And we did see in both of these cases that they exceeded what we really thought was an appropriate cost. And I think that it's accurate that we haven't, at least in the last 2 years, rejected any bids for these types of projects, but there are a lot of examples where, in general, in city projects, we have rejected bids for costs.
I'm just a little concerned because we only have so many people that do this,
Yeah.
And with prices of everything else going up, we give people more money because it costs more, and now we're acting like in a way that it don't cost more for these people too, because it does. If you open the bid again and get people from out of town, they're going to charge a lot more than what's here.
Yeah, and we definitely don't want to scare away any bidders, but we also, on the staff side, I can't make a recommendation that I think that bid's reasonable. I think it's too high. It's the public's money. And I really hope that we'll just continue to try to maintain good relationships, share the bids, be honest and forthright. and that people will still continue to bid.
You said that the lowest bid was rejected because of, would you say, security issue?
Yeah, so we require with each bid for the bidders to submit 10% of their bid amount in the form of a cashier's check or cash or some other type of security that allows us to hold that bid, and then that way, select whichever it is, guarantee that it's a real bid, all those sorts of things. And so we had that bid security set at 10%. The bidder in this case had just submitted bids in Oskaloosa, we're told, where he thought where the bid security there is lower, and he just didn't think about what the bid security was here. And it still does affect the price to an extent. You have to pay for your bid bond or whatever it is that goes into your bid price. So the attorney did say that we can't disregard that as an informality. It is of consequence to the bid amount. But even if you take the entire 10% and add that as an additional cash value that would have been completely forfeit, that bid would still be lower than this one. But it is what it is. We had to disqualify that one.
So was it just a clerical error on his issue then, or was it just something that he couldn't do?
I have no idea if it was clerical or if it was something else, but I just know that the bid security wasn't
It
submitted adequately.
just wasn't secured to you?
Yeah.
Is what it was? Okay.
Yeah, it's got to be 10%. It was 5%.
Yeah,
Okay,
my
thank you, I
understanding,
appreciate that.
Dan did 5% instead of 10%. Is that correct?
Yep.
And he's done a lot of work for Ottumwa before. You would think he would know that we have always charged at 10%, haven't we?
Yeah, every bidder involved in this has done work for us before.
Okay, yeah, all the names look familiar. Okay, thanks, Zach.
Any other questions from council for Zach? If not, I'm going to ask Mr. McKee to come forward. He'd like to speak on this topic. And go ahead and state your name and address, please.
My name is Weston McKee. I'm from McKee Construction and Abatement. We're out of Fairfield, Iowa, 2953 Glasgow Road, Fairfield, Iowa. I want to thank the council for hearing us out on this. I do consider myself a part of this community. I grew up here. I have a lot of pride in this community. In the state that it's in right now and the amount of dilapidated houses, it's something that this program is needed. And I feel that fair bidding is a very important part of this. We believe the city has now no quantifiable reason to reject our bid. They did not qualify the amount of asbestos that was in the house. I spent 3 different trips going to this house, measuring it and estimating what it was going to take for us to do. While I believe the decision to throw out all the bids might be in good faith for the city, but I believe it's unethical. The city has an obligation, I believe, to prove that our bid was out of line high. I can prove my numbers and where they should be at, and I can show you that they're on the low end of the spectrum when I actually put the numbers to the amount of asbestos that's there versus what my dollar amount per square foot, per bag, glove bag, and for the removal of the boiler. Okay. Like I said, I've been there 3 times. I've spent a lot of time over there. I spent a lot of money coming back and forth. I believe the city has a good system like you were talking about. We have 3 local people that bid these. We bid them very tight. We bid them very competitively. I've had other contractors from out of town that won't come over here and bid. They've told me that because they don't make enough money when they come over. And because of that, I believe we keep it very competitive. I understand that this is a high bid, but I don't believe that the city has actually looked at what they're actually bidding at there. I mean, I think they know that there's asbestos there, but they didn't do the square footages and the linear footage of the pipe and stuff like that. Rejecting this bid will undermine the trust between us and the city, that's for sure, and possibly in future bids and with other contractors. I do have a spreadsheet of my bid process. I don't feel like it should be publicized and in public. So if the council would like to see it and keep it with council, I can show you that.
if it's shown to the council, it is public record.
And that's why I didn't bring it out. But I personally put pen to paper as far as what was there, what the amounts are. I know the way I started my business was bidding here. The way I learned how to bid here was I went back and I asked for the records for 2 or 3 years of what the bid bonds were and the bids process. And I looked at those and figured out what the pricing was that you had to be at to compete in this market. I also talked to all kinds of competitors. I'm in constant contact with Impact 7G out of Des Moines. Before I did this bid, I called them. I said, what is the current prices for glove bag removal? Because it's not something we do a whole lot. I got their pricing. I put my bids on the lower end of that scale. I didn't put in mob fees for you. I didn't put in dumpster fees. These were straight square footage prices. And I feel that it is a very fair bid and that without reasoning that it should not be thrown out just because you saw a lower bid. There's nothing saying that the other bidder didn't look in the house, that he didn't do all the math, or that he didn't do it correctly. There's another bid considerably higher than mine.
Does council have any questions for Mr. McKee? Okay, thank you.
I do have a question for Zach, though.
Go ahead.
Do you want to go first, Karen? Okay. So you said your 35,000 is about where you thought it should be at, correct?
Mhm.
And what was Mr. McKee's bid?
His bid was 38,450.
38,450. And that's both the asbestos and demolition?
Right, that was
combined?
21,000 for asbestos, 17,450 for demolition.
Okay. Sorry, I don't have my packet on me today. So we're looking at about a $4,000 difference is basically what we're looking at between what you think it should be and what his bid was.
What I think the high end should be.
High end is what you should be. Okay.
I would hope we wouldn't always pay the high end.
Right. Well, we try to save every dollar we can. Okay. Thank you. That's all I wanted to know.
Thank you.
So, and Zach, I know you've been asked this, and maybe this was a question for Mr. McKee, but why is there such a difference in this? Like, I mean, it's almost a $10,000 difference between and then 30,000 if you look at the highest bid.
Yeah. So looking at the bids, it looks like the highest degree of variability between some of the bidders that we aren't looking at, especially the highest bid. The highest bidder is $31,800 for the demolition alone, compared to Mr. McKee at $17,000 and Mr. Larson at $17,500, and then Mr. Larson at just under $15,000. That probably accounts for just variables that go into how the building's positioned, what sorts of equipment people have that allows them to do the work. There's a lot more variability in the demolition side, and that'll account for the really wide ranges in that area. As far as the difference in the asbestos bid, again, I don't spend too much time looking at Mr. Larson's bid. This one, we aren't recommending disqualifying just because Mr. Larson's bid lower. His bid, the difference is $6,000, which is, about a third or so. That variability can be a little bit different too. It depends on what people are paying the staff that work for them on those projects, or how they're accounting for doing that work. And then in this case, the bid report or the asbestos report just sort of identified which items have asbestos. And like Mr. McKee said, they could have calculated differently or calculated a different price. For some people, it being very difficult to get to a certain type of material could be something more expensive for them. The other person wouldn't consider that, right? There could be a lot of factors that go into the difference. We don't have an engineer or architect that really provides the basis for the bids. We don't take an itemized bid, but we did look at it on the basis of, where does this fit into projects that to us seem comparable? And there's definitely a degree to which we want to accommodate the fact that that's an inexact science, but we still went into this one 35,000 is really the most we want to see. And then it ended up being not just above, but ended up being this sort of messy situation, which is obviously frustrating for kind of everybody involved.
And then I just have one more question. So let's say we reject tonight, then what happens if we get higher bids, or if we, Mr. Larson, let's say, comes back and we have the same situation? What happens? And then do we reject again and then bid again? I mean, what's the process going to look like? And I know it's what ifs, but I think they're important questions to ask.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I would think that it's extremely unlikely that Mr. Larson is going to submit incorrect bid security again. If that happens, that's kind of hard to manage. As Mr. McKee said, we do have a good environment when we have 3 bidders. We would hope that we'd still have 3 bidders again. That would result in the best bid. If the bids come in again and are all consistently higher than that opinion, then we might have to revise our opinion. But we do think in an environment where we have the 3 competitive bidders that we usually expect, that one of them is going to come out with a bid that we'd find acceptable.
I just think it makes it uncomfortable for everybody, like you said a few seconds ago, because now all 3 bidders knew what the numbers were. Damn, it'd be crazy not to bid more next time around. You know what I'm saying as far as that, because now it's public what you guys expected as a number. Well, they didn't know ahead of time what you expected. And that's part of that bidding process to get the lower bid.
Yeah. On the other hand, other bidders could bid lower and try to undercut that.
I understand the legal aspect, but I think we have a moral issue too. And I think we should keep the bid with Weston McKee. That's my take on it.
Is there any other questions from council for Zach? Okay, if not, Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway?
No.
Councilmember McIntyre?
No.
Councilmember Hull?
No.
Councilmember Pope?
No.
Motion fails.
Christine? I don't know. Is Christine on the phone?
She was. No, she-
Hi, Christine. So that was a staff recommendation which failed on the rejecting the bids for 530 West 4th. This was an agenda item, and it would be really quick to put together a resolution to accept the second lowest bid. Would that be okay to just table this, give Jake, who's in the back of the room, time to put that resolution together, and at the end of the meeting, we could adopt that resolution and award that project tonight?
Not on the agenda.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
So I'd make a motion to accept the second lowest bid from McKee Construction in the amount of $34,000 or $38,000. What was the lowest bid? $38,000.
$38,450.
$450, and award the contract to McKee Construction, and then direct Jake or whoever to make the recommendations.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember Rowe?
No.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Hull?
Yes.
Councilmember Pope? Yes. Motion passes. Moving on. Okay. Consider rejecting all bids for asbestos and demolition of the condemned property at 734 Center Street. Recommendation: reject all bids for asbestos and demolition of the condemned property at 734 Center Street and rebid the project.
Is there a motion to approve the recommendation?
So moved.
Second.
Zach, you're going to cover this?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. This is the same situation. We received 3 asbestos bids, 4 demolition bids. The lowest bidder was disqualified for inadequate security. The second lowest bid was $36,400, which I do, again, believe is too high. And my recommendation, again, would be to reject that bid and to rebid this project.
So Zach, what did you estimate this one to be in at?
For both of these projects, we went in kind of
At
with a
30?
ceiling of 35,000.
I guess I have a question on the one bidder. It's got not applicable under asbestos. So did they feel there wasn't asbestos to be removed, or that's just something they don't do?
No. So our bids, we do take bids for each item separately. And then there's a box where the asbestos and demolition bidders could check that box to say that their bids are connected. They won't do one item without the other. And then some contractors either aren't qualified or they just don't want to do asbestos, so they don't bid on asbestos. If there were anyone who had the lowest asbestos bid but a higher demolition bid and did not check that box, then we could award asbestos to one and demolition to another.
Does council have any questions for Zach?
I don't have any question, but Zach, I do want to say that I don't think you're out of line by asking us to reject these bids. I don't want you guys to feel like by us saying no, that this is like us saying that, you know, you're doing something wrong or whatever. You guys are absolutely making the right decisions here and putting this on the council to make this decision. So for us to say that, you know, we're looking at the numbers and we're saying, okay, we think that we're comfortable with this. This doesn't, I don't want you to think this reflects on anything you guys are doing. You guys are following what you think you're supposed to be doing. And I think you guys are doing a great job at what you are doing. So I don't want you to feel like we're like coming down on you about this or anything like that. So.
Oh, no, I appreciate it. It's,
I feel the same way as Russ, by the way.
no, thank you. No, we understand that. It's, we're all doing a job and we appreciate getting to do it. So.
Okay, if there's no other questions from council, Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember Rowe,
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway,
No.
Councilmember McIntyre,
No.
Councilmember Hull,
No.
Councilmember Pope.
Yes.
Motion still fails 3-2.
I'll make the motion to award the contract to McKee Construction again, $36,400, second lowest bid.
Second lowest bid would be environmental edge.
Yeah, environmental
Environmental
edge.
edge is this time.
That's not the second
My
lowest one
apologies.
for this.
Oh, it's okay, environment. Okay. I thought you said McKee, sorry.
Nope. Environmental Edge for 36.
Environmental edge. Thank you.
So can you state that motion again, Russ?
Yeah, let me write this. Okay, so I would make a motion to award the bid to the second lowest contract of $36,400, Environmental Edge, and direct staff to do the appropriate paperwork.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember Rowe,
No.
Councilmember Galloway,
Yes.
Councilmember McIntyre,
Yes.
Councilmember Hull,
Yes.
Councilmember Pope.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Now we have H6.
Consideration of acknowledgement settlement agreement between the City of Ottumwa and Ross Tobacco Shop. Recommendation, authorize the mayor to sign the order assessing penalty first violation and the acknowledgement settlement agreement with Ross Tobacco Shop at 129 East 2nd Street.
Do we have a motion to approve the recommendation?
So moved.
Second.
Does council have any questions for Chris?
I'll read through the staff summary for you guys. On February 7th, 2023, an employee at a local tobacco retailer sold a tobacco product to a person under the age of 21. The business was Ross Tobacco Shop at 129 East 2nd Street here in Ottumwa. The above captioned permit holder committed a violation of Iowa Code Section 453A2, subsection 1, by selling, giving, or otherwise supplying any tobacco, tobacco products, alternative nicotine products, vapor products, or cigarettes to any person under the age of 21 years of age, and that this was the first violation of this statute. The above captioned permit holder shall remit $300 to the city on or before March 23rd, 2023, 30 days from the date of this order. This sanction is consistent with the Iowa Code Section 453A 22-2A for a first violation of Iowa Code Section 453A 2-1. The city council shall authorize the mayor to sign the order assessing penalty first violation.
Does council have any questions for Chris? Okay, Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Hull?
Yes.
Councilmember Pope?
Yes.
Resolution number 31, 2023, approve fiber optic network installation agreement between the City of Ottumwa and Mahaska Communication Group, LLC, and authorize the mayor to sign said agreement. Recommendation, pass and adopt resolution number 31, 2023.
Move the recommendation is presented.
Second.
Okay, Larry.
One of the city's long-range goal was to attract a cable internet provider that is willing to provide services to both residential and commercial areas. The selection committee was developed along with a formal selection process, and Mahaska Communications Group was selected from a list of companies. Currently, their intent is to start construction spring of 2023, and they estimate they can build out the entire city in a 3-year period. This equates to an estimated 83,000 linear foot the first year and 430 linear feet for the following 2 years. This will require the majority of one full-time employee to review permitting, inspection, and installation mapping verification. In order to cover our inspection needs, we're currently working to hire a full-time person. Working with our legal counsel, the attached agreements were developed. I would like to break that down. That's over 15 miles the first year and 81 miles the next 2 years after that. That's going to be a considerable amount of work because not only do we have to locate the sewers during this process in the field, we also have to approve all the permitting and locate any electrical utilities that we own.
Does council have any questions for Larry?
What's the anticipated finish date on all this?
They said 3 years is what they're estimating. There might be carryover into a fourth, but right now their target is 3 years. They're actually starting boring tomorrow.
Thank you.
It's going to be a real game changer to have fiber available citywide.
I'm excited for it.
Anybody have any questions for Larry? If not, Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Hull?
Yes.
Councilmember Pope?
Yes.
Resolution number 40, 2023, approve change order number 1 for the Blake's Branch Sewer Separation Phase 8 Division 1 East of Iowa Avenue project, increasing the contract by $6,000. Recommendation, pass and adopt resolution number 40, 2023.
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Okay, Larry.
Change order 1 will provide compensation to the contractor for adding an external drop connection to a sanitary sewer manhole. Change order 1 increases the contract amount by $6,000. New contract sum is $232,500.
Council have any questions for Larry? Not, Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Hull?
Yes.
Councilmember Pope?
Yes.
Resolution number 41, 2023, assessing 2022 weed mowing charges against certain lots in the city of Ottumwa, 15 properties for a total of $26,527.67. Recommendation, pass and adopt resolution number 41, 2023.
Do we have a motion to approve the recommendation?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Okay, Zach.
All right. So this resolution assesses mowing and nuisance cleanup fees. It impacts properties where we did abatement actions during 2022 and for which fees for those abatements have not yet been paid. Everyone would have received an invoice for that payment, and they would not have, and this would have been if they had not paid it. The mowing fees affect 53 properties for a total of $9,910. When that is added with the assessment fee that the county will charge, that'll be a total of $17,860. And then the assessed cleanup fees, and these are nuisance abatement cleanups, affect a total of 15 properties for a total of $24,277.67. And with assessment fees, that'd be $26,527.67.
And is it true that usually these fees aren't returned back to the city until the property is usually sold, or the property owners usually pay this?
It definitely depends on the property. If someone's still living in the home and didn't mow their yard, it's much more likely that they'll pay the fee fairly quickly. If it's an abandoned vacant lot or an abandoned home, usually the taxes are also not being paid.
So in those instances, there's times when the city could just lose out completely, correct?
Not lose out completely, because we would always have the right in the public bidder's tax sale to serve a tax foreclosure and to take the lot. So we would at least have the value of reclaiming the lot if we choose to go after it that way.
Okay. Does council have any questions for Zach? Not, Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Hull?
Yes.
Councilmember Pope?
Yes.
Resolution number 42, 2023, removing special assessments applied to 121 South Iowa Avenue on resolutions 260, 2020 and 209, 2021, totaling $1,359.
With the recommendation as presented.
Second.
All right, Zach.
All right. In March of 2023, Whatsoever You Do acquired this property near their shelter. I don't know what their current plan for the use is. It's a residential lot, so it'd be fairly limited to either approved conditional uses or residential uses. But they did, the lot already had at that time $1,359 of accumulated mowing fees from a previous owner. Whatsoever You Do did dispute that the fees should have been charged. They claim that they've been mowing it consistently since 2022 when they wanted to begin acquiring it. And we didn't have documentation necessarily that we believed was substantial enough to substantiate that the mowing was done. We have had some cases where there have been mowing charges in the past that we couldn't substantiate were done by the contractor. Additionally, removing the assessments would further the mission of the shelter by preventing them having to pay that $1,300.
So Whatsoever You Do was maintaining this property even before they owned it?
That's what they've said. Yeah, that it was not being maintained, that they were next door, they were already mowing, they maintained it.
Since 2020?
Yeah.
Does council have any questions for Zach? If not, Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Hull?
Yes.
Councilmember Pope? Resolution number 43, 2023, awarding the contract for asbestos abatement and demolition of the condemned property at 517 Grant Street to Weston McKee for $10,000 for asbestos removal and $10,400 demolition for a total bid of $20,400. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 43, 2023.
Move the recommendation is presented.
Second.
Zach, I believe you're going to cover this as well.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. This next one is also one of the four bids that were four projects that we took bids for on March 15th. Again, the lowest bidder would have been Dan Larson, but his bid was disqualified due to inadequate security. The second lowest bid was Weston McKee in the amount of $10,000 for asbestos, $10,400 for demolition, a total of $20,400, and staff recommends awarding the contract.
Does council have any questions for Zach? If not, Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Hull?
Yes.
Councilmember Pope? Resolution number 44, 2023, awarding the contract for asbestos abatement and demolition of the condemned property at 1016 South Weller Street to Environmental Edge for $2,400 asbestos removal and $4,600 demolition, total $7,000. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 44, 2023.
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Okay, Zach.
Thank you, Mayor. This is the last one of these. Again, Mr. Larson would have had the lowest bid, but his bid was disqualified for lack of security. The second lowest bid was a thankfully very cheap $2,400 for asbestos, $4,600 for demolition. Total project cost $7,000. Although in all, the city will have also invested a fair amount because we've had to do nuisance abatement cleanups in the hundreds or thousands on this property, but it will make a big difference.
Council have any questions for Zach? Okay, Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Hull?
Yes.
Councilmember Pope? Resolution number 45, 2023, approving the North Market Facade Project, CDBG 20 CVN 24, change order number 7 and number 8, increasing the contract by $4,478.36, making the total contract amount $297,695.28. City's contribution would be 25%. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 45, 2023.
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
One more time, Mr. Simonson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The North Market Facade Project received a community development block grant for $250,000. The remainder of the project was funded by the existing downtown development grant program and by investment from the property owners. Change orders 7 and 8 is the 4th and 5th change order affecting the building at 114, 118 North Market. It makes some changes to existing wood, an existing wood beam and some cement board and trim, and it also makes some changes to the cornice and flashing. This is a result of field conditions that were not available to be looked at until the project started. The added cost will be $4,478.36. Which would bring the new contract sum to $297,695.28. The city's investment would be 25% of that, which is still less than the maximum that could have been paid under our facade program if the property owners had covered the rest of the cost without the grant.
Does council have any questions for Zach? If not, Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Hull?
Yes.
Councilmember Pope?
Okay, the next item is where I normally ask if there's anyone in the audience that would like to speak on any items that are not on our agenda tonight. And we do have one individual that wanted to speak. So we'll go ahead and start with Mr. Fisher.
The joy of public speaking.
If you would come up and introduce yourself and your address, please.
Yes, I'm going to try to stick to my script here. My name is Brian Fisher. I'm a resident from the west end of Ottumwa. My granddad built the very home I live in today in 1952. He raised my father there, and in 1978, my father purchased the home and raised me there. In 2016, I purchased the home. So we've been in the neighborhood for a couple days now. I stand before you today with the issue regarding the Burlington Northern Santa Fe Railroad Corporation continually parking their trains in the west end of Ottumwa and leaving them running idle for a matter of hours to a matter of days. These trains are often eastbound trains and are usually carrying coal. BNSF will park their multiple engines within a 3-city block zone: Paris Street, South Grave Street, Etta Street. There, once stopped, BNSF locomotives will either sit running idle, often waiting a lengthy amount of time to proceed east, or their employees will simply exit the train entirely, leaving their multiple engines running idle for hours, for days, for nights. The low and steady rumble can be heard and felt throughout the neighborhood. The sounds coming from an idling locomotive is sporadic: hiss, beep, boom, bang, and crack, continually. These left-behind locomotives not only pose as a constant noise pollution, they are also known to let off a foul and obtrusive odor, that which my neighbors are often forced to inhale. Exhaust fumes from multiple locomotive engines often linger near our city park and our city ball fields. I have attempted to contact BNSF on numerous occasions regarding this issue of the pollution created by their multiple engines when they continually set running idle at these locations. BNSF has failed to acknowledge any issues. Chapter 24 in the Code of Ordinances for the City of Ottumwa, the Code of Nuisance. Section 24-2 defines a nuisance as whatever is injurious to the senses or obstruction to the free use of property so as to essentially interfere with the comfortable enjoyment of life or property by the public or community shall be deemed as a nuisance. Section 24-3, noxious exhalations, offensive smells, becoming injurious and dangerous to the health, comfort, and property of individuals or the public. I understand that the Federal Railroad has to comply to their own rules, their own set of regulations. However, Burlington Northern Santa Fe Railroad Corporation is a privately owned corporation and therefore can and should be held accountable for not obeying city ordinances. Off the script, folks, I just want to tell you that the solution to this problem could easily be resolved if BNSF would just simply park less than half of a mile west, just outside of city limits, where there's little to no inhabitants. It's all countryside. There's actually a crossing out there that they block continually when they park at these 3 locations I mentioned. I actually have a file, if I may share with the council. Maybe folks can see for yourself. I'd like to give you that, but there's 2 train yards in this town, correct? Does anybody know? Two train yards? And they're not out in the west end of Ottumwa. And when I say train, I want to make it clear that, people think a train, it's just one train. It's not one train anymore. It's numerous trains all tied into one. And they sit behind my house, in my neighbor's yard, in my yard. And I need some help with the city is all I'm asking for. I've gone to the FRA. I've gone to the EPA. I talked to the EPA guy today on the way here, actually. I've gone through several officials and feel like a dog chasing his tail sometimes. I'm asking for city assistance if I could get some kind of help with, it's nerve wracking. I mean, if you can only imagine a train,
have you ever tried to talk to the Burlington Northern
I have,
Railroad?
yeah. I've got that all in my file. Yes, I have. I've contacted them on numerous occasions, and they just won't call me back. Plain and simple. They do not. I talked to the gentleman. He was the director. I've got it all in this file. I talked to him in December. Finally, after months and months of trying to contact him via email and phone conversation, finally he called me back. He said that he would look into the matter. This was in December. Haven't heard from him since. After several more contacts, and I've got surveillance on my property, so I've got it's all in this file. If I could share it with you folks, then feel free to. You're welcome to pass it around and see for yourself. It's frustrating.
Well, since this isn't on our agenda tonight, the council can't take any action.
I completely understand.
But I guess I would ask, does the council have any quick questions they want to ask Mr. Fisher?
I don't know if I have questions, but first, I guess, Phil, does our attorney have anything like in regards to this? But I guess I'll start by, so I feel for you. I very much feel for you.
Thank you.
And I feel for cities too, but our hands are tied. There is a case law from the city, I'm going to butcher the name, of Weyowega versus Wisconsin, where the city was giving the railroad violations of ordinances, and they came back and said, it went to the appeals court in Wisconsin, and they came back and said, the railroad does not have to follow our ordinances.
That's what I'm afraid of.
There's case law out there. That was in 2018. I can give you more information on that where you can go and read it.
Sure.
So I understand where you're coming from, and it's frustrating.
It's literally like we're a speck of dust on the railroads.
Mm-hmm.
The Federal Railroad is king. Is in my opinion, it seems to be the case. Yeah, it's a frustrating matter, extremely. I'm losing sleep. It's affecting my job. It's affecting my marriage. It's when you hear this in the background of your, I could sleep with earplugs. I mean, that's a common. I could sleep, but why should I have to? I shouldn't have to in the comfort of my own home. I shouldn't have to sleep with earplugs. Just less than half of a mile west at that block at the one of the crossings that they're blocking. Why can't they park there just outside of city limits? We're right on the outskirts of the West End. I just can't get BNSF to even acknowledge there's an issue there at all. The smog, the stuff that comes out of the multiple engines as they set running idle for hours. The one recently, he come in last Friday morning, 4 a.m. He parked near Paris Street. I called. There's a 1-800 number that I've filed numerous complaints on. I called and asked them if they'd back up, and they did. They backed up to Etta Street. They left this morning from 4 a.m. Friday, mind you, last weekend. They left at 10 a.m. this morning. They finally got in the train and off they went. And it's frustrating. It's a very frustrating matter.
When you was able to reach somebody in December, did you explain to them or ask them?
Yeah,
if they can just move it 3 more blocks?
I have, yeah. I've got all the emails and that from correspondence from BNSF, from the Federal Railroad Administration, from the gentleman from the DNR, the Iowa DNR, helped me out tremendously. This is all just recent stuff. He said the same thing. Asked Mr. Skoski is the BNSF representative, and Mr. Skoski said that in his reply he states that on his records show that they only park there once every 6 weeks, which is total farce. Thankfully, I've got video surveillance on my property, so I mean, I thankfully I have that to cover my butt, to prove that it ain't just once every 6 weeks. It's every day, 24 hours a day. I would not be surprised if there's one sitting there now. They're parking inside city limits. Why can't they just less than half of a mile west is all I'm asking for? But I can't. It's like pulling teeth, literally.
Does Christine have anything she wants to say?
I don't know. I mean, she had a chance to see it was on the agenda. If she had time to or not on the agenda, I'm sorry, the email that you wanted to invite him. Christine, did you have anything, hearing what you heard tonight?
Where's Chris?
It is a very difficult issue. The railroads generally, are preempted from any local regulations. The only exception is sometimes if there's actual blockages of property.
They are blocking 2. They are blocking 2 crossings.
Complaints about that, but in my experience, kind of legal recourse is really non-existent. More
That's what I was afraid of.
getting in contact with the railroad and talking with them to see if there's anything that can be worked out outside of the legal context. But yeah, the city does not have any leverage or legal way of forcing the railroad to do much of anything.
I understand completely. It's like I said, I've tried. It's a frustrating matter. It really is. I thank you folks.
Well,
for
we
your time.
appreciate you for coming and stating your concerns. It's unfortunate that it doesn't look like there can be much, if anything, that can be done to force the railroad to do anything. But we do appreciate you for bringing your concerns forward.
I thank you.
Is this a file you need back, or is this a file for the
No,
city?
keep it, share it,
Okay, thank you.
Bluetooth it, do what you got to do. Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak on an item that's not on our agenda tonight? Okay, if not, does council have any kind of reports or communications that they want to share with the public?
Yeah, no, this is actually a request for our next meeting, not our special meeting, but the meeting after. So I know that in February, the city, or I guess Phil and Barb were going to meet regarding the wage and benefit study. And I know that there was an email that went out at the beginning of March. Well, first off, there was an email that went out in February saying we should have like kind of a finalized timeline. And then in March, there was an email that said we weren't ready there, or ready like with the timeline. There was like an initial presentation, but I am just kind of wondering if we could have an update at our next regular scheduled meeting. We keep putting things off because of the wage and benefit study. And I think it would just be really, and I understand, we're still waiting for some information, but just an update, because I just think it's important for us as a council to really know where we are and what our next steps are and our timeline.
Yeah, Barb said at a staff meeting this morning, they're still waiting for the preliminary report to come from Gallagher, let alone the final report. They haven't even got the preliminary report yet. And she was going to call them again and ask them what's the holdup.
So I guess then I would seek some clarification on that too, because in an email on 3/12, it said that there was or on 3/2, that there was an initial meeting that occurred in February.
Do you have anything you want to add?
No, I mean, if you want to have, we don't have that on the agenda tonight, but we can provide some update to whatever level we have at that point.
And
Yes.
whether it's your update during your administrative time, I think it would be important for us to have that.
Yep, definitely.
Anyone else have any other communications that they want to bring to the public's attention?
I was wondering, what time does the diversity conference start on Friday?
I believe it starts at 9 at Indian Hills Community College. Yeah, the annual diversity conference is at Indian Hills Community College. I believe they're still taking registrations. So if anybody in the community wants to attend, it's usually a very good conference. Your registration fee, I believe, is $45, and it includes lunch, and they have several keynote speakers and some breakout sessions. So I would encourage anyone that's interested in learning more about diversity to attend that diversity conference this Friday at Indian Hills Community College. Any other announcements or any other information? Okay, if not, I would entertain a motion to adjourn tonight's city council meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Hull?
Yes.
Councilmember Pope?
Yes.
We are adjourned, and thank you, everybody, for attending our city council meeting this evening. Safe travels home.